Hello and welcome back to my channel. Yes, the background is different today. I'm actually outside. I make my hair, but I'm in front of the Thames River. Yep. Back to my story from the title. I got lost, and this one is actually a really funny one because I'm sure, like from my last video, one of the things I said is Google Maps is your friend and all the rest. So how did I end up getting lost, right? So this was when I first moved to the UK, and I was going to pick my BRP, which is the biometrics residence permit. So it's sort of like your card to validate that you are a resident in the UK. Anyways, so I had gone to pick my BRP at a post office. It was quite a distance from where I was staying because that was the address that I used. So I went so it was Dartford, and I went to the post office. Everything was easy. I used my maps to go. But on my way back, so I had called my friend that I was coming to their area, and it might be nice for us to catch up, but we didn't organize ourselves properly, and it took a while before we saw each other. After we ended up seeing each other, I was craving Nigerian food. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have been struggling with, I'm still struggling right now eating English food. Like, I'm sorry, some of them are just bland. This was like maybe like 2 weeks after I moved into to the UK, and I'd not really eaten any Nigerian food, by the way. So it was more of a let me look for something to eat, because nothing was working for me. My palate was not adjusting to any of the food. I needed pepper, I needed soup. So I met with one of my friends who lived around Dartford, where I'd gone to pick my BRP, and he was like, there's this Nigerian restaurant that is just close by. I'm sure you can easily navigate. By that time, I think my phone battery was still around 40%, right? So I was like, you can literally just go. It's just like a few minutes away, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll try it. So I punched the African restaurant into my maps, and I was like, it's just like 6 minutes walk from here, so maybe I should just go and buy the food. So as I was walking down to this African restaurant, guess what? My battery just started discharging. Like, it was discharging in a way that I did not understand. Like, before I knew it, it was 30%. And then I was like, okay, what's going on? Meanwhile, I was using my maps really to try and navigate my way to this African restaurant, by the way. So it just kept discharging. The next thing it was 20%. Next thing it was like 15%, 10%, and I was still walking down to the African restaurant. Guess what? I thought of like going back, like just trying to punch in how to get back to the train station, and then even figure out how to get back home into the map, and just like forget about the African food. But long truth, right, did not allow me to turn back. So I figured, maybe I could charge my phone at the African restaurant, and then maybe I'll be fine. But this was in the thick of COVID lockdown, by the way, which it wasn't like the easiest thing. Like, people were not sitting in restaurants to eat. So I found my way to the African restaurant, and while I was on the queue outside, because we could only go in like 2 at a time, guess what? My battery died. And one of the things that I forgot to share was that I didn't even remember like really how I traveled down to the post office at Dartford in the first place, because I'd used my map. It was my first time going out on, with public transport, ever. So uh, I had relied completely on my maps to get me to where I was going. So long story short, I got into the African restaurant. I ordered my poundo and eforiro, and I asked them, sorry, please, can I charge my phone? Do you have any Samsung charger? And they were like, oh, sorry, no, we don't have. I asked some of the customers on the queue as well, and they said, sorry, we can't help you. We really don't have this. So the only thing I remembered, right? I think I remembered how to get to the train station, to be fair. But from the train station, I had no idea how to go back to the house, right? So I still bought the pounded yam, by the way. And I walked down to the train station, and I went to meet a nice lady at the counter, and I said, see, my phone is dead. I know the name of my street where I live. And then I know some people have told me that I live close to a particular train station, right? And she was like, oh, okay, so you just take this train from this platform, and then you can stop at this particular station and then take the DLR to your station, right? The station that I remembered. Meanwhile, I'd never been to that station, but anytime I told my friends, oh, this is where I stay, they'll be like, oh yeah, you probably stay close to this station. But that was not the station that I used when I was going to the post office, so it didn't really make any sense. But I said, okay, great. So I took the train to the station the lady had told me to go to. And when I got down from that train station, I was like, oh great, I just started seeing like DLR. So what? My brain did not adjust. So I had assumed that the DLR was a bus, right? I thought that was what they called their red buses. So instead of me to follow the signs, and I just saw buses outside, and I was like, oh yeah, this has to be it. So I started going to the bus stop, and I was seeing red buses. I remembered the number of the bus that I took in the morning. So I saw the number of the bus, and I was like, oh yeah, but this bus was not stopping at the bus stop I was standing. So I was like, why is this bus not stopping here? I turned back, because they usually would have like the buses that would stop at this particular bus stop, somewhere around at the bus stop, and then some of them would have like signs where you could take buses going to other stops as well. So I checked, and I saw a name I was familiar with, which was meant to be this bus that I was seeing, but it wasn't stopping where I was standing. So I think the bus stop that I was at was like bus stop B, right? And this bus stop that I needed to take to my house was bus stop I think G, right? So I was like, okay, so it should be easy. So I started to walk. I would walk left, I would see maybe bus stop C and D, and then I would not see anything else. Then I would go back to B, go to the other side, start to trace. I may see E, F, W, Y, but I wasn't seeing G. Like, I was legitly scared, and I started to cry because it was cold. It was cold. I was walking, I would see the bus, and then it would just be going towards another side. So what I ended up doing was, I told myself, go back to bus stop B, where you were seeing this bus pass by you, and anything you have to do, make sure you do it to catch this bus and see where it is going, and follow it where it's going to stop. So when I saw the bus number coming again, I ran. I ran after this bus. There was no for me. I ran after this bus and um saw how it was going, the road it was going on. I followed it, and then this bus just parked, and then it was like, okay, so what's going on? Why did this bus park here? Then I realized that it was a bus park, but by the time I asked, someone pointed me in the right direction to where bus stop G was, and that was how I made it to bus stop G, thankfully. And then eventually got on the bus. Now, mind you, even though I knew the bus stop, or rather the bus number, I didn't know the name of my bus stop, right? So I still had to gamble. Like, eventually, like, I started seeing familiar places. I wasn't sure if it was my bus stop, but the moment I saw a familiar place, I stopped and then I walked home. Like, that was like a JJC story, so we call it Jolly Just Come. It was like it was like I just needed that rite of passage, as a new immigrant here in the UK. I got home, the only compensation I had was my pounded yam that I had in my bag, and that sort of just helped me not to feel so terrible about the day I had. I still felt terrible because I didn't go out for like 2 weeks straight after that experience. Anyways, moral of the story is, please charge your phone or have a power bank if you're gonna go out for a long time, and then no faffing around. Don't let anything tempt you like it did to me. Until next time. Bye.